welcome back. I think that's everybody now. The first poet in the to kick off the second half, Richard Scott. He's performed with Dodo before, and his career as a poet has really blossomed in the last few years. He's won the Wasafari New Writing Prize, been selected as a Jerwood Arvin Poetry Mentee. Has also been a member of the Aldeburgh 8, chosen by the Poetry Trust, and his work is published in Poetry Review, Poetry London, The Poetry of Sex, and Best British Poetry 2014. But best of all, he's here now, so we'll be able to hear Richard read some of those poems. Richard Scott, please.
Childhood. Can I come with you? Asked the clown in his caterpillar green silk jumpsuit. If you're going to say no, then give me a crisp, he spat, thrusting his fist spelt love into the open mouth of my golden wonder. Crumbs stuck to his chapped lips. I watched his grey beard struggle for freedom under a smear of hastily applied panstick. I counted the missing buttons on his coat, the soup stains on his ruff. Can I come with you or not, you little tease? His breath all salt and vinegar. I nodded and gingerly led him home by the path that winds through the cemetery. Hi. Thank you. Thanks for having me back, Patrick. It's really nice to be here. It's really difficult to follow all the wonderful readers in the first half. It was an amazing first half. That story, that poem, it's a poem, it's kind of based on a true story. There was a really creepy clown that used to hang outside of Iceland in New Malden when I was growing up, and he was always collecting for charity in an unmarked jar, and he was always kind of drunk. Me and my brother and my sister were, equally fascinated and equally terrified of him, and I never quite managed to forget him. But also, whilst growing up, we had a fishmonger that would come door to door and deliver fish, and this is something that doesn't really happen anymore, but it seemed to be a weird thing that happened a lot in suburbia. I spoke to other people about this, and oh yeah, we had a fishmonger who had a van as well. Maybe they've got richer and they've all got shops now, I don't know, or maybe people buy less fish, I'm not sure, but fishmongers in vans aren't common anymore, but it was a real highlight of my childhood. The fishmonger turning up every Thursday. I just wanted to check my facts there. Turned up every Thursday to deliver his fish. And I loved it. Fishmonger. Every Thursday he came to call in his blood-licked surgeon's coat. And if our parents were out, we knew to order nothing but eggs, as his prices for fish were far too dear. Once, he took me into his van, row upon row of gleaming flanks, the rough brick armour of crabs, the stopped hearts of bivalves pickled in brine, all resting on clouds of ice. He let me douse his catch in ammonia, a secret to keep their sparkle, he said. And as I sprayed, they spluttered back to life, mouths gurning for water, gills rippling like Venetian blinds, coppers and silvers flashing and lathering. I heard the mighty roar of the sea surround his van like traffic. He had to take me in his capable arms to stop me from crying out. He fed me prawns to calm me, wiped the brine from my lip, let me try my first razor clam, unzipped from its pale, hard shell, the tip soft and white and saline. In that battered old transit, I took the whole ocean into my mouth, and then he sent me home with a dozen eggs, so no one would be any the wiser. This next poem I wrote around the time there's a lot of coverage in the press about changing attitudes towards homosexuality in Russia, and it's sort of whilst Russian politicians were in turn condemning homosexuals for leading immoral lifestyles, the world was condemning Russia for that kind of view. And despite advances in modern technology and despite our ability to know everything that's happening all of the time, people weren't really doing anything but reading about it. So I did something which was equally as useless. I wrote a poem about it. Reportage. When I read how they poured petrol over that man, I see my own death in some minor fictitious Baltic state. Men I went to school with drag me into the arable square, chanting queer in a different language. They slip off my hood, wet my body with tractor fuel. The ringleader spits in my face before pulling out his tarnished Zippo, eyes skittering with white hate, his hand steady. And as if Europe were a funfair mirror, I look back across the 1,000 miles of moving corn, the brick wall estates, the shuttered up villages, to see myself free, pacing the avenues of a liberal city, scanning a tabloid, poem forming in my head. We are not so different, that poor sod and I. I too was born into this world to have dirt on my knees, another man's saliva in my mouth. Where I live in Hackney, I'm lucky enough to live above a barber shop, although actually it doesn't look like I've been to a barber's for a long time. But I live above a barber shop. It makes grooming very easy, usually. But also, it's kind of a really interesting, quixotic world to kind of peek into. There's all these kind of gruff East London geezers and these kind of lads, and they all go and they're weirdly, unintentionally intimate with the barber. You kind of see them engaging in sort of, beard trimming and hair washing and hair drying, and it's maybe it's a cliche to say it, but it's an interesting world to look into as a gay man, to see that kind of unintentional intimacy. Maz. In the barber shop beneath my building, the boys are listening to Bengali rap. A bearded one, perhaps 19, sharpens a cutthroat razor upon an ancient leather belt, crisscrossed with cuts like a butcher's block when a young man enters. They shake hands, pull in for a half hug, then a towel is offered, tucked in around his athletic sweater. The boy gestures to the smiling porcelain steak, his thick forearm toned from the blade's repeated action, and gently tilts his customer's head against warm running water, glittering like scales caked on a fishmonger's palms. He begins to lather. Suds run down the customer's muscular neck and over the loops of his gang tattoo. Fingers slide in and out of wet, soaked hair. I can almost see my face in the glistening black crew cut. I have stopped outside the shop window in the otherwise empty street to watch. The boy's eyes catch mine. He does not look away. He knows why I am watching. And I'm just going to read one more poem.
Draw this curtain.
Yeah,
Sorry,
sure.
it's just that there's noise. Oh, does it play?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And it's so good, I want to hear every word.
Oh, thanks. No one's ever drawn a curtain for me before. Thank you.
Oh, that's better.
So I'm just going to end with this, this little bit with this poem. that I wrote because near to where I live, like the barber shop, in Whitechapel, which is just down the road, gangs of devout Muslims or devout Muslim teenagers have been going around the streets clearing it up because they think homosexuals are trash and they need to be chased out of the area. So they're having this kind of weird war against guys who look, I suppose, effeminate or in any way different, or art students, and they're asking them to leave the area. And I find this, obviously it's kind of totally horrific. And I wanted to write a poem about it for a long time, and I wrote some really bad poems about it. Perhaps you'll think this one is bad, who knows. I wrote some really bad poems about it, and nothing really came to me until I kind of, I hooked upon this idea of being disguised amongst these devout Muslim teenagers. I can't really say why. It's kind of maybe it's a puerile idea, but in the poem I actually wear a veil and I kind of walk amongst them, and I don't know. It's a protest poem. And, yeah. Okay, I'm going to read it. I've apologised for it enough. So. Veil. I put it on so you will not know me. Plucked eyebrows, a dab of concealer is all you get. I put it on because I am hiding. I put it on and I am a boat. Sails dark as black sea anemones gliding down Whitechapel High Street into the white surf of Tequila and Thobes. I put it on so you will part into tributaries for me, eye me with a delicate sauciness as I pass. I put it on because underneath I am naked. I put it on so I might slip unnoticed into the mosque's gallery. I put it on so I might watch you kneel and bend from above. I put it on to hear you sing his praises. I put it on so that you might respect me. I put it on so I won't hear words like fag, this is our turf, walk faster boy, get out, spill from your mouth like rose water. I put it on because I am gay. I put it on to watch you hold hands with your brothers as you slip from the men's entrance. I put it on to enter the grocery stores brimming with grey pumpkins and lime leaves. I put it on to touch. I put it on so the grocer might whisper cut price offers into my ear and linger a second too long. I put it on to be wanted. I put it on to feel myself rise and crumple the smooth garment line. I put it on to feel the evening breeze flutter my cheek. I put it on to hear the fashion student shriek, fabulous honey, where can I get one? I put it on because I am a man. I put it on to be touched in every place like water. I put it on to feel myself beloved. I put it on to vanish into silk-thin air. Thank you.
The wonderful Richard Scott, and Richard will be back later this evening to bring our evening to a